This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today is Tuesday, so that means I'm going to be blethering on a bit about 5 of my favourite things in a particular category. And today, we're talking about a band who, let's face it, have never been regarded as cool. Dire Straits. When they first made a name for themselves in the late 70s, they were already seen as being dad rock, frankly, and that was before dad rock was even a term that people used. Owning a Dire Straits album was something of the preserve of the middle-aged gentleman, shall we say. And then into the 80s, that whole Brothers in Arms phenomenon. Well, Brothers in Arms was an album that was most associated with, the yuppie culture. Some bloke with Gordon Gekko braces and too much hair gel was probably what you thought of as being the archetypal Dire Straits fan. They've never been cool, and I don't care. Look at me. Today I'm going to talk about 5 of my favourite Dire Straits performances, beginning with
It Never Rains.
Yes, indeed. This is the closing track from what I think is the band's finest studio album, Love Over Gold. I've done an entire video on that album and why I love it so much. It's just a fantastic album for me. And when you're putting an album together, those of you that have, kind of done such things, and I've done one or two myself, you get a sense that when you've recorded all the tracks that, that has to be the first track. That feels like the beginning of something. And that one has to be the closing track, the bookends, basically, that start and finish an album. And I couldn't imagine this track being anywhere other than at the end of the album. It's just got that feeling of just an epic closing statement, really. It starts with just a nice, quiet, soft, gentle, melodic keyboard figure, and then Knopfler comes in and starts doing his thing. Let's face it, frankly, he's never going to be regarded as one of the best rock vocalists, but, he has that sort of characterful voice, and it's really in evidence here, as it is in pretty much every Straits recording. I don't know what it is about the lyrics of this song. I don't really kind of get them on a literal level, but there's one line in this song where it goes, and it's a sad reminder when your organ grinder has to come to you for rent. No, I haven't a clue what it means either, but every time I hear that, and there's like a Hammond organ sort of flourish that comes after it, it just sets the hairs on the back of my neck up on end, and, good music, good art should do that. Really, you can't really put into words why it has that, elicits that reaction from you, but it does. And then, the song plays out with a wonderfully constructed guitar solo, containing some rather odd note choices. You can hear he's kind of not going for the sweet, consonant, melodic feel as you would expect of a Knopfler solo on this track. He's kind of pushing it a little bit with some dissonant note choices that he pulls off beautifully and makes it work. Fantastic track. If you're not familiar with it, then like all of the other tracks, they're all linked in the description. Go and check them out. What's next?
Romeo and Juliet, live.
Yes, indeed, Romeo and Juliet, the live version. Now, not the live version from the famous Alchemy live album. I have got a track from that one coming up later in the list. This is the live version from Wembley Stadium in 1988 when the band played it. I think it was Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday concert that was a big sort of benefit gig for Nelson Mandela. Anyway, Dire Straits on that particular lineup, they had Eric Clapton on rhythm guitar. You don't see that very often, do you? And it's just such a fantastic performance. Take a look at it down there and try and see past the 1980s fashions, the mullet haircuts and the shoulder pads, and just listen to it as a musical performance. It's fantastic. And, the sax solo on it, I think it was Chris White who was the sax player in Dire Straits at the time. He pulls off just the most beautiful, heartfelt, soulful, wonderful solo. I am thinking of doing like, you know how I did that Hazel O'Connor sax solo a while ago from that Will You, that track of hers, and I did it on guitar. I am thinking about doing this solo because it's just such a beautiful melodic piece of playing that I think it would translate well onto guitar. But just a fantastic version of the song, for me the definitive version of it, and it's a shame that I don't think it's ever been released officially. You can only find sort of slightly grainy versions of it you know, up on YouTube and wherever else, you know. But it's for me, that's the best version of this song, and it's one of my favourite Dire Straits songs. So the best version, or one of my favourite songs, is why it's on the list. Next,
Sultans of Swing.
Yeah, how can you talk about you know, favourite Dire Straits tunes and not mention this one? I suspect for most of us this was our introduction to the band, you know, back in, I think, was it 78, 79, and it was just completely different to anything that you heard at the time. Most of the other guitar-focused bands at the time sounded nothing like this. It was, you know, this was sort of the re-emergence of heavy rock as, you know, as a popular you know, genre. You were seeing kind of rock bands on Top of the Pops most weeks, Iron Maiden, maybe Saxon, maybe UFO, you know, and if it wasn't that, it was sort of the fag end of disco and punk, you know, YMCA and In the Navy, and you know, as I said, the end of the punk sort of thing. You were starting to get bands like Sham 69 and the Clash were, you know, kind of quite big then, and nothing at all sounded like Sultans of Swing. It was just this, you know, completely different sound. You know, I didn't know at the time that I was hearing stuff that I would be, you know, that would sound familiar if I went and checked out some J.J. Cale albums or stuff like that. But that was my sort of introduction into that sort of laid-back, gritty, bluesy, you know, kind of soft rock, I guess. And yeah, it turned me onto the band, and I still love the track to this day. So that's why it's on the list. Next,
Tunnel of Love, live.
Yes, the live version of Tunnel of Love. It's odd, isn't it, how, you know, sometimes the first version of a song that you hear becomes the benchmark, the definitive version for you. And this is the first version of Tunnel of Love that I heard from the Alchemy live album, and it's just a barnstorming performance. You know, it's just got one of those kind of long play out solos that you find on a lot of Dire Straits material of this time, you know, the live version of Sultans of Swing, for example, and other such tunes. You know, you've got this long play out solo which is beautifully constructed. I don't think it was an improvised solo. I think it's pretty well known that Mr. Knopfler is, you know, quite meticulous about constructing his solos, or certainly having, you know, kind of points in his solo that are signals to the band, you know, and you can kind of hear that when he hits a certain lick, you know, the drums go from like a cross stick sort of feel to, you know, kind of a more full snare sound. And you know, so it's constructed and it's composed and it's beautifully melodic, and you know, it's about 2 minutes long or something like that, probably longer. It's a long guitar solo and it holds your interest, and I can listen to this solo and this version of this song, you know, till I'm blue in the face, basically. I absolutely love it. And to me, the only fault with it is that it makes the album version of the song, you know, what was it, Making Movies, this song originally appeared on, it tends to make that sound a little bit sort of stiff and lackluster, because this is just such a fantastic version, and that's why it's on the list. Next,
Telegraph Road.
Yeah, back to the Love Over Gold album. As I say, probably my favourite Dire Straits album. This is just a cinematic epic of a song, you know. I'm sure you know it by now, but even if you don't, go and listen to it and pay attention to the lyrics. It tells the story of, you know, the birth and growth and decline of a civilization, essentially, you know, and told from the viewpoint of, you know, an individual kind of living within that. You know, you get long time ago came a man on a track walking 30 miles with a pack on his back, and you know, that's where the story begins. And once again, the story ends with one of Mr. Knopfler's utterly epic you know, outro solos, you know, And this was a 14-minute track, and I remember this getting radio airplay. Can you imagine that today? You know, a 14 minutes epic kind of bordering on, and I know I'm going to get shouted out for this, but bordering on progressive rock, you know, kind of opus of a song with a good 5-6 minute guitar solo on the end. Can you imagine that getting airplay on today's radio stations? Of course not, but it was a different world back then. Yeah, fantastic song. You know, as I say, this is, you know, when I was talking about the first one, It Never Rains, that was the ending of the album, and this, again, just the way it kind of comes in slowly, kind of fades in, and you know, that it builds up a momentum. This has the definite feeling of the beginning of something, and as I say, it matches. It's a perfect bookend for the album with It Never Rains at the other end. I absolutely love the track, and that's why it's on the list. So there you go, folks. Those are my 5 favourite Dire Straits performances. If you have 5 of your own, then please let me know in the comments section below, and be interested to know what it is that makes them appear on your list. You know, just let me know what it is you like about the tracks, if you can be bothered to write a couple of lines about each one. And that is pretty much it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video and found it reasonably entertaining. That is, after all, the point of doing all of this kind of stuff. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not give me a like while you're at it? But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.